All right. Hello, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me. Did you hear the music, though? All right. All right. Good. You could hear the music. All right. Hello, everyone. Yeah, we're going to cover the Missy Bevers case today. Well, it's like a trippy background right now. Let me fix that. Yeah, we're going to have a special guest. She'll be joining us later. Good old Mrs. Solves. She's going to give her perspective of someone who's and to wear similar gear, and she just has a pretty interesting take on this. Good afternoon. So I kind of want to start off give everyone some context. Missy Bevers, it is the 9 years anniversary as of April 18th. And this case still has not been solved, so it's very frustrating. I know for folks, family members, people who are close to her. And it's definitely interesting because it's a case where there's footage or video surveillance of the perpetrator. And it's like, all right, we have some video of them. How come this isn't solved? And they are disguised, looking like they're part of a police unit or SWAT, wearing some tactical gear. They don't show their face. We don't know if it's a female or male. There's speculation, but we don't exactly know. Yeah, I hope it gets solved soon as well. So there's footage that we're going to go through. But I want to play just to kind of give some context to it. I thought the podiatrist that they had from the FBI who discussed the case, I thought that was really interesting. And I did a video on Missy Bevers. Tom Webster did a really good deep dive on this case. He's someone who I talked to and asked questions with. Was on Reddit, talking to people on Reddit, just trying to learn as much about this case as possible. It's sad, scary, all those things. But let's start off with just a short, it's like 4 minutes, and we'll let people get settled in here. And then I'll kind of go through the timeline of events. We'll watch the actual footage, and we'll answer questions and discuss some theories. So let me share this. All right.
A North Texas fitness instructor was killed as she was preparing to teach a class in a North Texas church. Midlothian police, as of tonight, have not caught her killer, but they're not giving up hope. Last week, they did tell us that they keep getting tips, and they have hired also a retired federal agent to try to figure out what happened, the who and the why. But tonight, a bit of a different take on the Bevers investigation from a type of expert you may not have heard of. He was called in to help try to identify the killer. I-Team reporter Ginger Allen digging into the fairly new science and learning some chilling new details about this case.
When it comes to solving crimes, investigators can use a variety of physical evidence, DNA, fingerprints, and something called forensic podiatry.
Caught on camera. It's the kind of video we've seen time and time again. Suspects committing crimes in masks or disguises. But one thing they can't hide is the way they walk. And that's where forensic podiatry comes into play.
Something related to the foot or footwear or a footprint or gait, which is how somebody walks or moves generally.
By day, Dr. Michael Nierenberg runs a foot clinic in Indiana. But when he's not with patients, He's an expert witness in criminal cases across the country.
When I look at a piece of footwear, I'll do what I've sort of called a shoe autopsy, looking at the bottom of the shoe, the wear pattern, the insole impression in the shoe. We can show that you wore the shoe and you were the only one who wore the shoe.
He's helped convict and exonerate people using gait analysis. So the FBI asked Dr. Nierenberg to apply his expertise to video of the Missy Bevers murder suspect.
When I took this case on, I had a police officer put on similar armor and walk with and without the armor.
He says wearing that heavy gear and carrying the weapon would affect gait. So it's difficult to know if that's how the killer would move in regular clothing. And while much has been made of the way the suspect walks,
you can see how the left foot is just slightly out-toed there and the right is significantly out-toed in this person.
Nierenberg says that is not uncommon.
A large number of people in the population obviously are going to have that.
Another big question in the case is gender. People aren't sure if the killer is a man or a woman. And Dr. Nierenberg says neither is he.
You can't make a determination if it's a male or a female because of variation in gait. That is a dangerous thing to do.
This is not the only video Nierenberg studied. He says investigators from the case sent him recordings of people to see if he thought they walked like the suspect.
The FBI sent me persons who were of both genders. I don't believe they knew that they were being recorded.
Of the men and women they sent you, how many did you say could be possibilities?
I believe one.
He says the FBI thanked him for his time and said they'd be in touch if they developed new evidence. That hasn't happened. He says the one thing about the case that he can't forget is the video never seen by the public.
It just sticks with you because you know what's coming.
He saw Missy Bevers inside the church. He says she turned her head, startled, appearing to hear something off camera. It was very likely the moment she realized she was not alone.
We've all watched those horror movies where you say you got to get out of that house. And, and this was the real thing.
To be clear, the doctor did not see the murder, but he tells us what he saw has stayed with him. On another note, he tells us gait is not unique. More than one person can have the same walk. So this is just one more piece of the puzzle. He tells us he would not participate in a prosecution where the only evidence was gait analysis. I'm Ginger Allen, CBS 11 News.
All right. I thought there's some interesting things being discussed there. So what I picked up on was that the gait is not unique. So multiple people could have the same gait, which is interesting. It brings up that there are more people who walk kind of out-footed than I realized, that it's actually pretty common. I guess I never paid attention to that. So also that he was able to analyze a bunch of different suspects. And yep, the father-in-law was one, the husband, and everyone was ruled out except one. And we'll go over who that one was, but it wasn't a family member. Actually, the family members have been cleared. Yeah. Anything else that anyone got out of that news clip with the podiatrist? Yeah, it kind of seems like a weirdo. All right. So let's get into kind of the facts of the case and we'll get into the timeline. I just didn't share it right. But yeah, this happened April 18th, 2016 in Midlothian, Texas. A fitness instructor arrives early at a church to set up for her fitness class that is supposed to start at 5 p.m. and she was brutally murdered. The suspect was dressed in SWAT-style tactical gear. This person roamed the halls minutes up to an hour and a half before Missy was killed. Don't know who they are, and it's still unsolved. Yeah. So, Mr. Scott, this is a good point, and that's why I'm going to have Mrs. Solves get on. She's been through the police academy. She had to wear a utility belt, and she said if it's too large for you, you're going to have to walk, which makes sense, with your legs out so that thing doesn't fall down. So that could be altering the walk, definitely. So it might not be his genuine gait. And hey, Jason, how you doing, man? Yeah, and kind of to that point, it's tough because this person is wearing something that might be altering the way his natural gait would be, and just like Richard Allen in Delphi, when he was walking across the bridge, it had these gaps, so it wasn't really a natural walk. So it's really hard to tell if their gait is exactly how they normally walk or not. But there are some things you're able to tell, like how this person bends at the knee, how they move their neck, some of the reasons why the podiatrist was able to rule out certain suspects. All right. Okay. So one thing, when I was looking up the case, I heard, kind of reading on Reddit, just hearing things that, that the killer, if it was a planned, targeted murder, well, the killer knew that they were going to be inside that morning because of this post that Missy made. But when I actually read the post, it doesn't say that they'll be inside. So I think people were just saying that because they want to say, oh, it's the father-in-law, it's someone who knows Missy. They knew she'd be inside. But the actual post that she posted the night before says, no excuses. You're gladiators, 5 a.m., Creekside Church of Christ. We have cover under the front awning. So they were never going to go inside of the church. The class wasn't. So this is what happened April 17th. We'll kind of go through the timeline now. Oh, I don't like the way this looks. I might have to switch up gears real quick. I apologize. But yeah, this is the Nissan Ultima. You can see it. And that is what law enforcement is still looking for, the driver of that. I emailed them asking them questions and then kind of gave them this generic response. But I reached out to the family members and they said, to their knowledge, that they're still looking for the Ultima, the driver of the Ultima. Let me share. One second. Okay. There we go. So they said it's between 2010 and 2012. Nissan Ultima was captured down the street from the church at SWFA, a sporting goods / gun store, and they were turning off on their headlights, seeming to avoid detection. Like when a car would drive by, they would turn their lights off and then they would turn them back on. So it was just very strange, peculiar behavior. Not exactly sure what they were doing there, but that was happening at 2:04 a.m. Okay. Then at 2:23 a.m., this is still one of the mysteries, motion activated cameras in the building are first activated. So there's motion, there's cameras inside, the outside ones weren't working. And there was motion activated cameras in the building that were activated at 2:23. So since it was, there's some broken windows, the way doors, some people speculate that maybe this person who was driving the Ultima came over at 2:23 a.m. to the church, broke a window to see if an alarm system would go off, but there was no alarm system. They hung out, waited to see if cops would show up. And then since no cop showed up, say they waited 30, 40 minutes, then they went into the church. That is speculation. Okay, so that happened at 2:23. So at 3:50 a.m., the killer first appears on the church video surveillance. So we don't know what time they actually entered the building. It could have been at 223. So I must say that the cameras, they weren't all over the church. So there were blind spots. So they're only working in certain areas of the church. So if they came in, and I'll show everyone kind of where he or she came in from, but they could have gone undetected. So that's kind of the frustrating thing. There weren't cameras that capture everything. Oh, thank you. Yeah, no surveillance outside. Look at a few more questions or comments. Yeah, the whole outfit. So there's some theories I have. So it could be someone just, I think we're going to go to the fact that it's an unknown, but we'll go. And all right, my special guest is here. Well, hello there. Hello. Are you able to hear me? Hello, hello.
Yes, I can hear you. Hello.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so we're just going through the timeline right now, and then I'm going to play the video of the perpetrator walking through the video and then get your take on it. That sound good?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. And it's Mrs. Solves, everyone.
Hello.
She's- So we've looked at this case together. We've talked about it. She helped me brainstorm for the video that was made, and especially since the 9-year anniversary came up, we did want to kind of just do a live stream and discuss and try to bring awareness to this case and answer any questions. Yeah, discuss. All right. See you. Yeah, people. When we asked what cases we should cover, kind of moving away from Delphi, this was number one. People wanted to hear more about this case and for it to have more attention brought. So happy to be covering it. So I'll kind of finish this timeline, and then we'll actually play the video in its entirety. So at 3:50, the killer first appears on church video surveillance that was noted in a police report, but we got to see them at 3:58. So there's something which I was thinking about, which we'll get to, is they had a gun. My understanding is Missy was actually shot and killed with a gun, and they edited out any video that shows this person when they have their gun. I think they had a gun because it was part of their get up, part of their outfit. And well, I'll ask you, Mrs. Solves, when you first saw the video, what were your initial thoughts? Just initial, and then we'll break down the video. What are your thoughts on this?
So my initial thoughts were that it was someone who was posing as a peace officer. I thought, okay, maybe it's someone who wants to be a police officer, wanted to be a police officer, and somehow got their hands on this tactical equipment that they were able to then put on and do checks. I think that's one of the things that I had brought to your attention to initially was they look like they're clearing the building. They're going through and opening doors, looking into just all the spaces, it seems.
Mm-hmm.
So
kind of role playing, almost like
right.
pretending. Do you think it's authentic gear that they had on?
From the video, which isn't, unfortunately, the video isn't super clear, but it does look authentic.
Looks pretty authentic to you.
It does, yes.
Okay, I'll play it and you could get a closer look. I'll just go through this timeline, finish it up, and then we'll go through it. But at 4:18, that's when Missy appears on video walking into the church. Now, we know this because of the police reports that I went through. There is no video that's been released to the public that shows that Missy is on video at all. So they said it was quick, like 4:20 is when Missy was actually killed. So it's like she went in, she heard something, and then so from people who did watch the extra footage, like the podiatrist and I believe her family were able to see it, it sounded like she heard something, was kind of startled, but then walked to what she heard, kind of like, tiptoeing, kind of unsure, but she was going towards that noise. Then after that, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say that's like just a normal response though, right? Like any of us, like we hear something and we kind of go investigate and see what's going on.
Yeah, because I'm sure she
So-
thought she was the only one in the church at that time. And I know there was glass broken, so we don't know if that's what she heard, the glass being broken, or if that was during their struggle, because there were reports that there was a struggle between her and this person. Then the camper arrives. Missy's body is discovered by the camper, and say that the campers, who are the students, they've all been cleared, looked into. I mean, I think that's why 9 years later, those cases are easier to solve when it's someone related to the suspect. I mean, that's why a lot of murder cases, straight murder, get solved, because it's obvious who the killer is. It's someone close to the person. But when it's out in public, it's a little harder, because most of the time when a family member kills a family member, it's at home. They don't do it in a public spot, or have someone do it in a public spot. They have that crime committed at home, because it's easier to clean things up, to make excuses of why there's DNA, etc. So this one, it's been 9 years. It just, each day that goes by, it just seems like this was a robbery gone wrong. This person didn't know Missy. They were just possibly, like you said, pretending that they were guarding this church. And we'll take a look at the video now. Does she have any comments before we look at the actual footage?
So one thing I just wanted to comment on is, looking like they're clearing the building, like maybe they believe they're doing something good. But that's also something you and I have gone back and forth on, right? Like, is this person lying in wait, or were they just very oddly thinking that they were somehow doing a good thing? So I know you and I have had some debate on that, and that kind of seems like it's a general debate with people who follow this case as well.
Yeah, we've had almost fist fights, dang near. No, just kidding. No, I mean, it's whatever the case, who this person caught. It's not about being right, but let's take a look at this video. I'm just going to play it in its entirety. You're able to see it. But this isn't the proper sequence of when they arrived. Now this probably starts at 3:58. So you can see they're trying to get into this building, or this door. Yeah, regardless, they just don't seem in a rush either way. I mean, it could go, there's kind of their walk. So there's been people who've like stripped down to make it look like all of his gear off, like it's really a skinny person, his or hers. You see that? Let's look at that walk one more time. It's just nonchalant, I would say. But yeah, the gear, it could just be not fitting. Like the shoes are too big, something. It could be making them walk a little bit off. So I guess, my theory is that they are looking for something specific, because if they wanted to, like, just, I don't know, they left that open to vandalize it, like they'd be hitting the wall with the hammer right now. They'd be scratching something or doing something to vandalize it. They're coming out of a room here. Yeah, they took this from another one of the rooms, this little item here. And it, I guess, had some sockets. It was a little plastic bin. I mean, the person could be drunk, on drugs. We don't know if this is their normal state.
And so that's where they were hitting the wall with whatever
it
they
was
had in their hand.
yeah, I think a door. I don't know if they hit the wall necessarily.
Okay.
But like this, okay, see how they watch, they'll come out. It's hard to see up top. But they kind of rub their hand against the wall. So
Yeah.
like to me, I don't think, I mean, they could be drunk trying to stabilize themselves, but I don't know. It makes me think of two things. And I don't know. Like one is the Gladiator movie, the opening scene of Gladiator, because I had to do a report on this in college, where he's like putting his hand across the crops and he's like feeling it. So it's like special to him. That's his food source. That's his crop. When he was a farmer, he's touching those things, and it shows like the wedding ring. And so that was very meaningful for him. Or the other thing is like something that you want to protect. Like it looked like, oh, here, you're patting it like it's my baby, like you do to your old car that you fixed up and you put a new paint job, and like you love that car you washed, and you're like patting it kind of almost like a sentimental way. Kind of get that. Or there's he's looking like because it's a sensory thing that's going on, like a college basketball game. Before they run out, they all hit the banner or hit the side of the wall. So it's like, all right, it's game time. Like I just started my shift. I'm pretending that I'm guarding this sacred ground. I have this weapon, and yep, I'm going to guard it. So the first person who comes in, they're gonna get it, whoever trespasses. Or am I overthinking things?
So I think I see what you're saying about the Gladiator movie. I think it's far from that. I think it's more, and sorry, that's just my opinion. I don't mean to be disrespectful or rude. So I think it's just more of like children, like just immaturely, like just kind of walking along. I remember being young and being told like, don't touch the walls. But children want to just touch everything. And that's just kind of like an immature, I don't know, almost curious type thing, and in some people. And so I just kind of get like, even the walk, like there's no urgency. It doesn't seem like there's urgency in the clips that we're seeing. It just seems like you said, like nonchalant, just kind of almost like hanging out, like just checking stuff out. But I just get more of from the hand on the wall, I could just get more of like an immature, eerie vibe, I guess you would say.
So like a toddler? I'm just kidding. But like a younger person?
Not that they're younger, but just kind of maybe like the mentality, like it's just an immature mentality.
I can see that. Yeah, mentally not all there. I think a mentally unwell person,
or possibly even just defiant. I mean, I think a lot of children are told as children, as little ones, don't touch the walls, don't rub your hands against the walls. And so maybe just like in a way of defiance, and maybe not even intentionally, but just I'm here doing what I want, Right. I'm hitting the wall with something, or I'm hitting a door with something. I'm opening these doors and leaving them open. I'm not closing them. So yeah, I'm touching the walls. I'm just going through doing whatever I want type vibe, I guess.
Deviant behavior.
Yes.
And Jason, yeah, correct. There is no audio on that. I know, I wish there was. Yeah, so deviant behavior. And another possibility, I don't think people realize how much, and we talked about this, how many times there is a lot of breaking and entering that is also related to trespassing. So there's a lot of people who will just trespass to be deviant. We see it in looking at serial killers, how things progress, where first they break into houses, and it's not about stealing stuff. It's about being deviant and seeing what they could get away with. And then that escalates. So this could be someone, I don't know, in your experience, if there's a lot of trespassing charges, more than people think, or just, breaking and entering. But the person was a question earlier, did this person steal anything? And the answer is no. And I know it sounds weird, but that kind of makes me think it was more of a burglary than not. Because if you were going to stage it to look like a burglary, you just simply take something, anything. But if this person didn't take anything, then yeah, they didn't do a very good job if it was a planned thing. But also, they were interrupted, it seems like. So they could have planned on taking stuff. Maybe they had a stash of things they were going to take, and they got interrupted by Missy, shot and killed her, and then they just want to get out of there. So the fact that they didn't take anything doesn't make me think it wasn't a burglary, because they were moving stuff from room to room, like that one little white object they had. I don't know what your thoughts are.
Yeah, so if there was a pile of items that maybe this person was expecting to be able to load into a vehicle if they had one with them, that, well, I mean, I'm sure there's lots of information. I don't think this report has not been
Right.
available to the public. Is that correct?
Yeah, we don't know exactly
Okay.
like if they did have a pile of stuff. But it kind of, so someone asked earlier too, like, were there crimes in the area? So yeah, people don't realize, like, churches are a target for being burglarized, because the difference between a robbery and a burglary is, right, a robbery is when there's a person involved, like someone there, like you're going to stick up a gas station, the clerk there, you're going to rob
it's
them.
by force or fear.
Yeah. And a burglary, right? A church, they don't think anyone's going to be there at 4 a.m. So they thought they have all the time in the world.
Mhm.
This was a Monday. So I'm assuming that they were like, all right, on Sunday, they collected cash. So I'm going to look for where that cash is. Now, on this map, something else that I learned talking to people closer to the case, down at the bottom, there's these office areas. It's like 19. You see the main offices. Like, the person spent a lot of their time, the majority of their time, in there in the office areas, and those were a mess. They were very, like, someone was sorting through files, going through stuff. They spent a lot of time in there. So it's hard for me to think, all right, if they were waiting for Missy to show up, why would they spend so much time in an office? Like, she could come at any given time. So it's like they think they're really searching for something.
Yeah, that's a good point. With going through paperwork, maybe that was their objective, was to find something, like you had stated earlier.
Yeah, I mean, could be
Yeah.
information on someone. I don't know, old records. Maybe they're a former employee. We don't know. And the place, I think the church was open maybe like 7 years before this happened, so it was relatively new.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the killer entered up north. Missy entered from the south side. This is the awning. And then kind of like by this red star is where they found her body. So, and at this point, it seems like the killer just came out of the sanctuary, this middle area here where it's enclosed. It's kind of like an auditorium. They have big, heavy doors. So it might have been as this person walked out, that door shut, and that could have been the noise. I'm just speculating here, that Missy heard, like, why did a door just shut? And then she starts walking to investigate. And so she was killed in the hallway with the inside of a room. So just for those who didn't know kind of how that went down. Yeah, we're on the plate. Yeah. Dark side, I think that's a good thought. So yeah, there's a deceased from head wound was the reports. The reports were puncture wounds. This was early on, before I think the autopsy came out. It was hard to tell. Now, I've heard mixed reports that there was, why they knew it was a gun, that there are multiple reasons, but one was, I heard someone say there were shell casings found, and then I heard someone else said there wasn't shell casings found, so they think it's a revolver. But I'm kind of comfortable talking about this. It seems like law enforcement doesn't want it known that a gun was used, because, like in the Delphi case, that was important. Like, if Richard Allen knew that they had this bullet, the shell casing, he likely would have got rid of his gun, but he never did get rid of his gun. But then it's like after 9 years, and if this person went, they obviously didn't want to get caught by how they were dressed, whether they were just burglarizing the place or planning to kill, that they'd probably get rid of the gun, you would think, but maybe not. I mean, Rick Allen didn't. But yeah, so law enforcement, they're not saying, hey, it was a gun. Seems like they want to keep that close to the vest. We definitely, I don't know what caliber, anything about the gun. Just, I mean, there is information if you look deep enough that there is a report that a handgun was used in committing this crime. Yeah, it's on murderdata.org. So this is a report, and Tom Webster is the one who showed me this, but it says in Ellis County, Texas, in 2016, in April, homicide, murder, negligent manslaughter situation, single victim, unknown, who was 45. So a 45-year-old female who was murdered. She was the only one in this county. And it says weapon, handgun, pistol, revolver.
Okay.
So yeah, it's out there. And also, this is a screenshot from one of the reports. They conducted an e-trace search with the ATF on the handgun found at the body site location. Now, she did have a handgun in her truck. So it's kind of hard, especially since this report, it has redacted parts. So, I mean, they found her gun in the truck. So I don't know what they need ATF, because they brought out a dog as well, I think, to look for maybe shell casings. So and then they went, they spoke to Penny Rowley with Walmart Loss Prevention. Miss Rowley's conducting searches with Walmart. Miss Rowley was asked to search for suspicious sales of ammunition and or guns in the early morning hours of Monday, April 18th. So there's a lot of things that point to a gun being used. So the gate. No, don't start with the gate, man. Please, not the gate again. So what was the perpetrator doing there? I don't know if you want to take us through that.
So the different theories. So one was, like we had discussed earlier, burglarizing the church, but nothing was taken. So that can point against that being the objective, or like you said, he or she could have been interrupted and unable to complete what they went there for, if it in fact was to burglarize. If they
still see when I'm typing too fast phonetically instead of actually looking at what I'm typing, it's not steal.
I didn't even notice that. So why not take anything to make it more believable? But once he or she, I keep saying he, sorry.
Yeah, well, I put he up there. Yeah.
Okay. So once they committed this heinous violent act against the woman, the victim, it's like anything else before, like burglarizing, obviously, like that could be borderline of misdemeanor or felony, depending upon damage and items taken or whatever. But once it went to the violence and the horrific violence that occurred and fatality, right? Like murder, that it kind of just negates like everything else. Like what? Yeah, I mean, it's so horrible. I just, even as you were going through the previous slide, I'm like, it's just, so sad that, and unfortunate that justice hasn't been, hasn't been served. So, sorry. So going on, thrill seeking. So was he motivated by the excitement of trespassing, breaking into a restricted and or holy area? And we talked previously about deviant behavior. And so that absolutely could be actually deviant behavior. It could be right in all of these. So, it is associated with all of these. So thrill seeking, we have the cosplay, where they pretending to be a security guard, doing perimeter checks, clearing a building. Although Yeah, watching the video again, their movement isn't urgent. Their movement is just more like lackadaisical, you know? Um, so yeah, so were they just cosplaying, making it look like a burglary as part of their role-playing experience? Another theory is that they were targeting the victim. Was he lying in wait? And did they change their mind? Another theory is they may have initially planned to rob SWFA. I don't.
It's a gun
what's that?
store. That's a gun store that was across the way where the Ultima was parked, acting
Oh, I
strange.
see. Okay.
So if they thought they were going to rob that one, they're all dressed up, prepared to rob that, and they saw how many security cameras were there. They couldn't get in, and they're like, well, I'm already at my mindset on I guess burglarizing something, and I keep saying rob, burglarizing something. Then they went over to the church and tried to get something out of their night.
Well, doing something deviant, right? So
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that's a question for sure, but I think it's like less of and I see why it's a question though, because it could potentially lead to who the person was with the, maybe sorting out the motivation. Yeah. But ultimately, it's like, who the hell was this person who committed this heinous crime against this woman? And ultimately, like, her family now for the past 9 years and not having answers.
Yeah, it was sad having listened to an interview with her husband, and he was just saying how she would change lives of people who were just feeling bad about themselves, and she would help them get physically fit and talk to them and be there. And she was like a school teacher before, and just a lot of the good that she did, and just someone trying to have start work that day, that morning, go in there. Yeah, it's just sad. She was a mother, wife,
A friend,
a friend. So
Mhm.
yeah, so some arguments that get when discussing it, or just not I get, but just that are made, is that if it was a burglary, why did they, like, burglars, they get in and get out real quick? Well, I think that's more of a robbery. You want to get in and get out. A burglary, like where you don't know things are located, you have to go find them, and that's going to take time. Like if someone breaks into a house they've never been into, they have to spend time to look for like where the valuables are. So I think burglaries, they spend longer, especially when they think no one's around. But a robbery, yes, you would want to get in, get out. So it's just something that was brought up. And then police impersonators, like, it's pretty, like, I Googled police impersonators in Texas. And then these are all cases of people dressing up like cops committing crimes just in like the last few years, just in Texas. And there's even more. Even I'm like, what the hell is this guy wearing? I don't know. It was a picture from something that I Googled, and police impersonators. So this was going on back then. It wasn't as uncommon as people might think. So that's pretty strange.
Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah. So kind of with what the hell was the person doing there, looking at the motives, right? There's been claimed domestic issues, a hired hitman, personal grudge, a stalker, obsessed follower, random serial killer, botched robbery, fantasy police impersonation. And a lot of these people at this police department, they say when people were cleared, a lot more than the Delphi case. So they said everyone, because there have been search warrants that are released, I was able to obtain them, and anyone who was mentioned these search warrants, they say have been cleared. So they don't think it was anyone close or anyone who knew Missy. Yeah, here's some. Let me get to questions. I'll leave this up. Get some comments. I'm lagging a little bit. Yeah, it could be wrong place, wrong time. All right, we got a new member. Woohoo! Thanks, Chris. Thanks for being a member. Jason, mischievous teenager, went in, look around, vandalized, wearing tactical role play, being a cop. Yeah. What if it was his dad's outfit or an uncle or who knows? Or I saw, even looking at this police impersonators, so you could order some stuff online that looks pretty damn real, or go to certain, what's the shop you could go to? I forgot. There's stores that you could go to purchase pretty realistic, authentic looking equipment.
There are some stores. The specific name is escaping me right now, but a lot of those stores, especially in person, for stuff that specifically says police or some of the items,
ID.
you need to have a specific ID to be able to purchase those items.
Yeah, I saw some things that you could order online and then kind of make yourself.
Yeah, that's definitely possible too.
Can't understand why they haven't identified that vehicle. Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I mean, that's a good thought, Jason. We don't know. I mean, they even like bugged the husband's phone, the FBI did, and like they've went through all of his financials, did so much research on him. I just can't. I mean, he's cleared, and I know he's not. Police aren't really talking to him now, and I don't think that's because they think he's suspicious. It's just they have no updates. They have nothing to tell him. It's like, all right, same as last year, still nothing to tell you. So I don't think they're making progress. The last thing that they've really made progress on, I think, was a search warrant that was out of state in 2020, 2021, and it was from a lady. And it was nothing there. They just seemed extremely desperate. And it was just kind of like online talkings. A laser. Can be dismantled with a laser. Never heard of that. Lasers. Find what they want. Maybe they didn't find what they want. Yeah, I mean, maybe they didn't find the cache or the information on someone. Yeah, so what I read was everyone from the church and even the people that she worked with has been cleared. Like I know they put a lot of time and resources into this, and it's been 9 years, and they've just, now their hands are up like, we don't know. Killer knew the building layout. That's possible. And of course, there's always these suspicious things like, did they know that which cameras were working and which ones weren't? That there were outside cameras weren't working. Plan killing her just behind the door or something. Yeah. There was one part in the video where they walk right by where Missy comes in, I think like 10 minutes later, and then just walk by it nonchalantly, not interested, not looking out like, oh, are they coming yet? It's like they weren't expecting anyone to be there. Sammy, she interrupted burglary vandalism. She targeted an assailant, would not be making noise and breaking glass before her arrival. That's a good point, right? Like they would just take off. And even dressed as a police officer, don't know what they were thinking. I guess they probably thought, well, I'll let you answer. Why do you think they dressed up like that?
Because they have issues. I think because they want to feel a certain way, because they want to feel like they have power, because they want to feel a certain way, like they could do whatever they want. Maybe that's their perception of law enforcement officers, is that they can do whatever they want, and so maybe that's how they want it to feel. I don't know. It's a mental thing for sure.
I think it's that. I think it serves dual purposes. The other one is, hey, if someone catches me, if someone walks in while I'm breaking in, I could say, hey, I'm a police officer and I got called in. Yeah, someone was breaking in. I'm looking into it. Right. So don't mind me. And then they leave that way. I mean,
That's possible, but that's gonna work only very briefly, especially if
Mhm.
the actual person coming in is kind of able to see like something's off here. So, but yeah, that's possible because on site it would be like, oh, well, the cops are here, like it's
And I think
all
I
good.
think they've been there at least one time before, just because they're wearing that helmet that can't be comfortable. It seemed like they were like, if they were so nonchalant, they weren't expecting Missy to be there yet, say at 3:50 p.m. Like, why wear that uncomfortable ass helmet from 3:50 to say 4? Like like, why? So they must have seen the cameras, known the cameras were there beforehand, because that's concealing their identity big time. I mean, they
Right.
obviously didn't want to get caught. I think is another reason why they dress that way. Some people are like, "Oh, a cop did this," and they think it was an actual police officer. I mean, it's possible. It could be a police
Right.
officer. Yeah, more exhibits are coming out on Delphi today. Yeah, I saw some of those. They're kind of like, eh. I don't know if that's the jacket that they showed. I think what was interesting, I saw some of the exhibits earlier. Yeah, not to get off topic, but like the shoes that it shows him wearing, like with the fish, like I think those are the shoes, same shoes that Bridge Guy's wearing for sure. And just all he wears is jeans, exactly the same as Bridge Guy, how they're like scrunched down at the bottom. But other than that, I was like, oh, Gibbo, Frank, you fell asleep at the beginning. We put you to sleep. Nice to know. Yeah, very puzzling. But they've been to this church before. Yeah, I think so. So reasons why this was not a targeted attack. That's kind of what I went. And then this is from Brandon Bevers, Missy's husband. He posted it, so I don't feel bad sharing it. I mean, we've had some private discussion that I'm not going to share, but this is something that was posted in a Reddit, in a subreddit. The person did some things. And yeah, you might find this interesting. Not on camera, that simply doesn't make any sense. I can't go into detail, but these actions are not representative of a planned event, in my opinion. And the fact she did these things raises big flag for the notion she was actually waiting for Missy. If that person was actually there for Missy, there's something psychologically off considering his or her actions. So kind of it wasn't coherent, their actions, what they were doing if they were waiting for Missy. And my guess is like what they were doing in the office area for so long, if they were actually waiting for Missy. And I think at the beginning of the case, he made statements like he thought that it wasn't a random act, that it was a targeted one. He felt like it was targeted. Now he's kind of changed his opinion, and people are like, "Oh no, he's changing his thoughts. That means he's guilty." It's like, no, it's when you get using the scientific method, when you get new information in, you're able to make better informed assumptions, decisions. So I think as he's learned more, he's able to decide what is most likely. And he's still confused. I know I think he's moved on, but he still wants this solved. I mean, it bothers him, and he said he needs to take a break, but he's still not taking a break. Like he's still actively trying to find who did this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're complete strangers, to this, to who she was and into this area in particular, to the state, the city, but it's still just so disturbing. So I can only imagine how much more disturbing it is for, direct family members and friends, and just how frustrating it has to be, you know.
Yeah. And yeah, he's said things in interviews like, he needs to clear his mind. Like your whole life can't be that anymore, especially as kids,
Mhm.
and has to move on. But yeah, just from what I've seen and messaging, like it still eats him up, and he still wants to get to the bottom of it. So reasons why this was a targeted attack. So just to play the devil's advocate, the other side of it, because I'm open, we don't know. I'm just giving my best guess based off of the information that I've seen. The suspect arrived before Missy, and that's maybe why it was targeted. No valuables were taken. The suspect dressed in full tactical gear. Maybe they were planning for a fight. But yeah, I'm like, they had a gun, so in hand-to-hand combat, that you're not very agile in what they wore. But and then you hear this a lot. Oh, they must have known them because the extreme violence, so it was personal. But yeah, I think that's a myth we've seen in too many cases where it's been super violent and it was a stranger that was murdered. So I get it that there's some reasons why people think it was targeted. Let's see what else we have. I think I put this in the video, pretty much saying the same thing here about the different theories. Let's go to the chat. This is another thing from Brandon that he posted, and this was more recent. Yeah, February 19th when he posted this. All right. If they are young, maybe they're just passing through. Yeah. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, the gate. Right. Yeah, and that's important because I didn't know that until I watched the podiatrist that was interviewed. I'm not a gait expert, so yeah, I did learn from that. So for sure, it's worth learning about. What's up, Trav? One of the more bizarre things to me, besides murder itself, is how long the murderer was in the building. That's a long time to be discovered by someone. Yeah, like whether it was a burglary or it was a planned murder, it just seems being nonchalant. I think that's part of the reason why mentally ill is a viable assumption, or they were on something. Just didn't seem very smart to do that. So I try to think, like, what do we know about this person? Well, suspect, they're approximately 5 feet 8 inches tall. Law enforcement says they give them 1.5 inch tolerance. So that could be, 5'6.5" or 5'9.5", somewhere in there. The helmet, it's kind of hard to tell. And the boots, I say we know they're right-handed based off of how they were swinging the hammer. They were impersonating a police officer, someone's security. So maybe a tie there, or maybe, I don't know, police could look into people who purchase certain items in certain stores. Now, it was off of, I guess, a pretty well-driven highway out there. So a lot of people could be driving by. It doesn't necessarily this person live too close, but I don't know. Usually it's crimes are committed within pretty close proximity to where the perpetrator lives. So we don't know if it was just a passerby, and that would make it even more difficult to find the car or find the person. They have a distinct gate. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that just raises the question of this person driving around in that gear, which, again, if they're going to don it to come commit some type of robbery or situation, it's not too far off, but it does seem like it's not super comfortable. So maybe they're not wearing it too far or changing. I don't know.
Yeah. It'd be weird to be driving around with that. So what I think, since they were there, right at 2:20, there was this glass that was broke. The alarm system went off, but there was no one seen on film, on footage, until 3:50. They came in through the kitchen area, and I guess they were there for a while. I mean, you can assume that they're there for a while. If they did come in, say 2:20, say they waited, see if any police came, they didn't, then they went in there. I think they put their gear on in the kitchen. I don't know. That's just the feeling that I had. I think they maybe brought some stuff with them in, and then they finished getting dressed in the kitchen. And it makes me think that then maybe they knew that there's no camera in the kitchen if they did that, or I could be wrong. They could have in the car. That's what they were doing in that Ultima. They were changing, putting on their gear, and then maybe they approached. Yeah, maybe that makes more sense, to the kitchen in the gear with the helmet on, because they didn't know if there were surveillance outside, because there was a sign out there that said this facility is being surveilled. But yeah, it just seems uncomfortable.
Yeah, uncomfortable. It's also risky to. So I didn't. Maybe I missed it at the beginning, but I didn't know that there was an alarm that was actually tripped. So, but law enforcement did not respond to check for the alarm. Is that? It sounds like that's the case, right?
So there wasn't an alarm. It was motion activated cameras in the church. They were activated at 2:23 a.m.
Okay, so not necessarily an alarm system that was tied to like an operator service that would notify. Okay.
Correct. So at 2:04, that's when that Nissan Ultima was down the street at the church at the SWFA store, turning off their headlights, turning them back on. And then at 2:23, that's when the motion activated cameras in the church. So one could assume that was them. They drove over 19 minutes. Right? Is it weird that down the street, this Ultima was acting suspicious, driving around, turning its headlights off, kind of circling around. 19 minutes later, there's a motion activated camera in the church right down the street. So it's a small leap, but it could be a possible connection. And to my knowledge, they're still looking for this Nissan Ultima, the driver of it. So they think they might have some information or be involved somehow. So yeah, it's interesting. Where's that car? Okay, let's see. Now, I mean, so this is past suspects. I don't want to go too much on this, but yeah, Tammy Welch was the one in 2020. They served that search warrant on. Right, there was some talks of infidelity through some of the search warrants, and all of these folks have been identified and cleared. The one person me and you thought was a viable suspect, Bobby Wayne Henry, that's the one who was charged for sexual assault when they were a police officer. Then they started being a security guard, and they were a security guard of the church, I think for Missy's funeral. And they had this gate, and he was the only one that the podiatrist couldn't clear, was Bobby Wayne Henry. Couldn't clear the gate, where the way this person walked was most like the person who was seen in the church. So yeah, they're cleared. They had alibis. They were out of state. Randy Bevers. So yeah, they were in a completely different state when this happened, and it was verified. So they're cleared. But this is the guy, the Bobby Wayne Henry, why he's a sus. Yeah, he had access to the SWAT style tactical gear, similar build and gait to the suspect. And the doctor, so when he couldn't clear. Then there's this other talk about this 2014. There was a small SUV vehicle seen leaving the church at 4:30 a.m. But that was on the search warrant, on Bobby Wayne Henry's search warrant, but it's never been talked about again. And then kind of finding out the person was a pilot, and he wasn't exactly sure if it was the day of Missy's murder when he saw this SUV pulling out at 4:30 a.m. or if it was a different day. So that kind of kills the certainty if this SUV is important or not. But there was a report of it being seen.
And that person was Bobby Wayne Henry was ultimately cleared. Is that right? As a suspect, or
yeah, they said he had an alibi, but it said his wife was the alibi. So I think it more than alibi, but yeah, they cleared him. But it was interesting when they served the search warrant and they seized his items, they found CSAM on his phone or computer or both, and they arrested him for that. So he was a freaking sicko. So I don't know how exactly they cleared him, but he was. And I was like, really? I mean, he checked a lot of the boxes for sure. Oh yeah, here's why he was cleared. 6'1". They said he was too tall for one. No forensic evidence. They said he had an alibi. They said no direct connection to Missy. no weapon link. So yeah, he was cleared. I guess too tall, 6'1". So this is the Ron Logan of the Missy Bevers case. He was too tall. Yeah, this person. Yeah, everyone else was cleared. So anything else before we kind of go through some more comments? Anything else on the case? Any closing thoughts?
For me?
Yeah.
Sorry, I was.
You have to go.
No. Yeah, no, not really any closing thoughts. I mean, I always, when we've gone over this case and the elements of this case before, I just always walk away from those conversations being almost like more confused and more thoughtful about where, like, how can this be solved? How can, and there's not, like, with the report not being released by the police department, there's information that just isn't available. So I guess also with that, I have some hope that there is something that may be still viable there for them to work with to ultimately solve this case too, because it's very sad that that it's been this long. Well, that it happened first of all, and then that it's been this long without any justice for her.
Yeah, and if anyone does have any information or know who drove that Ultima, I would contact the police department. There's their email, there's their phone number. If you are the person who committed this crime, I think you should call and turn yourself in, relieve yourself of some stress, and do the right thing. But anyone has any helpful tips, try to show what a helpful tip would look like instead of just jamming them up with a bunch of random stuff like space aliens or Odinist committed the crime. So just waste their time. So if you have takeoff, I will cover any of these questions. I don't know if you have another minute. Yeah, military surplus stores. I think that's what I was looking for, Trav. Thank you. Yeah, it didn't fit them too well. This one's car look, yeah. So people can make them up for sure. There's stuff online to do. Yeah, heavy boots, motorbike, that's possible. Yeah, I mean, Ruckus, how you doing? It could be. I guess it's 50-50, right? At first, before I learned about a gun being used, when I thought it was like a hammer, I'm like, oh, it's probably a guy if it's that violent hand to hand. But a gun in Texas, I'm like, yeah, it could be a woman attacker for sure. I don't know the stats on how common it is for women to burglarize, but I don't know. It's definitely the movement. There's some feminine qualities and mannerisms there for sure. And yeah, and again, no one asked you, Ruckus, so just kidding. Yeah, the sports store video is key. Yeah, they're still looking for the Ultima that was driving around there. Ransacked the office. Yeah. There's so many questions. I know. I wish we had answers. Closing time. Yeah, right after 2:00, the person could have been intoxicated leaving a bar. All right. Well, thanks everyone. I'll hang around a little bit more for comments, but yeah, urge someone if they have some information to report it. And hopefully we don't have to wait until year 10 until there's justice for the families of Missy Bevers. So
Right.
all right.
Okay.
Well, thanks everyone. Thank you, Miss
Thank you.
Fig.Solves.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. All right. Always nice to see the wife. I'll read a few more. Oh, I guess that's too much. I believe reach out to them. Yeah, just talked to him a little bit, just through messages. Yeah, Gumshoe, he does a lot. I looked at a lot of his videos. He seems very knowledgeable. Yeah, I mean, it could be true. Yeah, and I think even Brandon said that he was probably the most like the actual a suspect, not just a person of interest. And yeah, they cleared him, so I have to figure that there's a reason why they cleared him. Yeah, that's true. He has that limp. The father-in-law has that limp, so it is common. Yeah, the problem. Midlothian. Of course. Well, thanks everyone. I appreciate it. Yeah, the wife is nice. She's kind on the eyes. She's nice to me. I don't know why. So I stay nice to her for sure. But all right. Thanks everyone. Maybe we'll talk some Delphi later. Appreciate you.